Thanksgiving is one of the special holidays for me personally. Thanksgiving is special because it's a cultural holiday. It's a time for families to gather together. But Thanksgiving is also very special because of religious involvement. People of faith are people who like to give thanks to God. On Austin Faith Dialogue today, we're going to talk about an interfaith Thanksgiving worship. Please stay with us on Austin Faith Dialogue.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
In this culture, we love to be thankful. And we express that thanksgiving with our family members, and we express it in our worshiping communities. I'm Carl Gronberg, host for the program on Austin Faith Dialogue, and we're really happy to have you with us because we're going to talk with Barbara Selgestad about Interfaith Thanksgiving service. And Barbara, welcome. And we're going to talk with Mike Gesh, Deacon Mike Gesh, about the Interfaith Thanksgiving service, sponsored by Austin Metropolitan Ministries, and an opportunity to welcome our viewing audience for Austin Faith Dialogue to be with you and with me. I plan to be there also, and with your family and friends and my family and friends, and to be able to give thanks. Interfaith Thanksgiving service. Let's talk about that, all right? Where did it start? How long has it been in our community, and why should we have something like this? Barbara, what's your thought?
Well, Austin Metropolitan Ministries conceived the idea. The first one was 15 years ago, and it came about with a desire for interfaith ecumenical service to give Thanksgiving. And that's, let's see, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. I remember that first one. I was telling you before we started the program that I was there, and it was at Central Christian Church, and it was something really new for Austin Metropolitan Ministries to welcome the various religious communities to be a part of that interfaith service. Mike, how did you get involved in this?
Well, I began with the Austin Metropolitan Ministries a couple of years ago. Our church was a member of that, but we didn't have a local representative from our church. Mm-hmm. And so, as one of my desires to learn more about the interfaith dialogue and the interfaith religions, I volunteered to be our representative.
Mm-hmm. And when you came, they said, we've got a new volunteer, we're going to get him involved. Barbara, is that what happened?
Well, yeah, pretty much.
I was put on the first Thanksgiving committee meeting right away.
Uh-huh. And when you were told you were going to be working on the Interfaith Thanksgiving service, what was your reaction to that?
Well, I was quite excited about it. I had heard a lot about it, and I was looking forward to meeting all the different representatives of the different faiths here in Austin.
Now, I know your pastor, your priest, Barbara. He's been involved in this for a long time. Talk a little bit about your congregation's involvement. Why don't you name your congregation? It's all right to say, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. I'm with Our Lady's Maronite Catholic Church, and we're an Eastern Catholic church. And so we're very, a lot of people aren't real aware of Eastern Catholic, the Eastern Catholic faiths. And so it's nice for us to be a part of the interfaith dialogue and Thanksgiving celebrations because we get to meet others and just share all the different exciting things that we do. And so Father Don Sawyer is the chair of the Interreligious Commission who oversees the Thanksgiving celebration, and a couple of other committees that are interfaith dialogues that allow people to get to know one another of the various faiths.
Your congregation has hosted this a couple times.
Yes.
We've been there. And
yes.
What do you think is the advantage for a congregation like your own to welcome these people? Now, it's not simply a Christian celebration, Thanksgiving service. There will be others invited, right?
Yes.
Who else will be invited?
We have Hindu representation, Jewish. We include Muslim. This year, for the very first time, we will have Mormon representation. We have Sikhs. Sufis participate in the festival part of it. We are open to any faith community who is interested in participating. And so it is certainly broader spectrum than just the Christian.
And it's been moved around to various places. Now, you've had it in your congregation has hosted it. We've had it at Central Christian, as I mentioned. First Baptist has hosted this. Also, this year it's going to be at a Roman Catholic church, St. Albert the Great, is that right? What do you think, then, is the advantage for those congregations? I wish we could have the priest here from St. Albert to ask him this question, but since you've done it, we'll ask you, what happens to the congregation that hosts such an event?
Well, I think that they really, once they open their doors, they become more and more excited to learning about other faith communities. And I think it helps everybody to grow closer. You get to share with your own faith, and then you get to see what other faith communities do. And so I think that it's just the sharing, and it builds tolerance and acceptance of others, and it's an exciting thing. It really is. It's exciting to let other people come in and see your place of worship and see how you experience God in your lives.
You mentioned an important word, dialogue. And is there some of that dialogue? Now, Mike, I don't want to keep you out of this, because, but you haven't been to any before this. Is that right? This will be your first one?
Well, this will be my first one. I was on the committee last year, but the day before the celebration, I had a heart attack.
Oh.
And I was in the hospital during the celebration, so I missed it. So I'm looking forward to the very first one that I'll be attending this year.
All right, so the dialogue that goes on then is going to be a dialogue in a worship setting. Now, is it set up with two parts to it? Is that how I understand this?
Well, it starts with a welcome from the host priest, and who talks a little bit about his faith community and why they're here, and just welcomes everybody. Then we have a clergy circle, and that's where we have representation from various faith communities that give some prayer that is familiar to their religious, ethnic background, or whatever.
Or excuse me, but I like that. I like this idea of a clergy circle.
Yes.
So you have representatives, clerics from the various religious communities,
Yes.
And they come up and each one offers a prayer. Is that the idea?
And like we said before, it's not limited to Christians, so it's a broad spectrum, and it's very wonderful. This year we'll have translations, because some of them are in other languages, and it's really nice for that. When we first began 15 years ago, there was, for the first number of years, they were very careful about not offending one another, and they spent a lot of time diluting it, actually. You know, they wouldn't talk about Jesus, they wouldn't say Allah, anything that could be taken the wrong way, or it was diluted. And what's been very nice is in the last 5 or 6 years, we've grown and learned that we can truly just share with one another our own faith, do it in the way that we're familiar and comfortable with, and everybody can be accepting of that.
Well, what do you think, Mike, when you hear Barbara say that? What do you think happened then? If indeed the fact that they at first were real sensitive, and I recall those days, not wanting to offend anybody's word you used, and yet what's happened, do you think, in these years?
Well, I think over the years, it's the education process where they have learned that, well, they're not so bad after all, and they've dispelled a lot of the myths that go along with some of these religions that people aren't familiar with. And so it becomes more of a recognition of the common goal that we all have, or the common faith we all have in God above. So I think it's a wonderful thing that makes everyone more comfortable, and have mutual respect for one another, and look for common ground instead of looking for objectionable things.
You know, I think all of that is true, but something else that strikes me is I think we're learning to, can I say this word? We're learning to trust one another. Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility.
Because that is a wonderful thought, when people can learn to trust one another, that I'm not going to try. You're not out there trying to convert one another or proselytize. Is that right, Barbara?
Not at all. Not at all. It's all about tolerance and acceptance, and being able to share your own experience and be comfortable with other people's experience. And that's what we're working for, and that's the goal. And so instead of limiting people, we encourage them to show expressions of their faith.
In the context of Thanksgiving, it's always been my thinking as a clergy person that Thanksgiving in this culture is a cultural event. It's one that all peoples can join together. And I've never wanted as a clergy to put it into a liturgical, theological setting of my particular denomination, but rather join in with other people of faith to express our common gratitude to God. Pretty nice idea, huh?
Yes, it is. And I think the ecumenical services are spreading. Last year, I know within our church, we had a Good Friday service with several of the other Christian churches that we hosted at our church. And there seems to be more trust, more willingness to cooperate, more willingness to understand, and to try and be friends.
And Austin Metropolitan Ministry is involved in that kind of thing of trying to promote that understanding, that mutual recognition. And Austin Metropolitan Ministry wants people to share together and learn together.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you mentioned that there's this, I kind of digressed there, sorry, Barbara,
I'm sorry.
but you mentioned there's this clergy circle.
yeah.
And then after the clergy circle, those who are watching Austin Faith Dialogue say, we're going to go November 21st at
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock at St. Albert the Great, which is located out north Austin.
Off of Mopac and Palmer.
Okay.
Bittern
We're going to
Hollow.
come to that service, and they're going to come in there, and there's going to be a greeting by the priest, and then there's going to be this clergy circle, and then what else is going to happen?
Well, then after that, we have what's called demonstration of faith. And at that point, we have beautiful stuff happens, just wonderful stuff. We have chanting from, Hindu chanting. The Maronites this year will be doing an incensing and chant also. We have cantor singing. We have, let's see, there'll be, a couple of different things right now.
But I'm just impressed by this. There'll be Hindus who'll be doing some chanting.
Yes,
And I would think
and
that the
doing
majority of the Christians who are watching this will probably say, boy, I've never heard Hindu
Exactly.
chanting. And this is an
Exactly.
opportunity
it's
to...
just beautiful.
And the grace of God can be involved in Hindu chanting.
Yes.
And then the Maronites, you all are going to do some, say that again, incense.
Incensing. I mean, we'll do an incensing hymn and do incensing during that time.
And bring the incense
Yes.
around to those who are,
Interesting.
interesting.
And then,
But you know what let's do? Let's hold it right there. And because we're going to take a break, and we're going to let them know about Austin Metropolitan Ministries, and then we'll come back and we'll tell them some more things. So you want to hear what else is going to be happening on this Interfaith Thanksgiving service? Stay with us on Austin Faith Dialogue as we talk about giving thanks to God. We're back, and thank you for watching Austin Faith Dialogue. And visiting with us is Barbara and as Mike share with us about the Interfaith Thanksgiving service. It's a community service, so people from north, east, south, and west Austin and the greater Austin area, metropolitan area, are invited to come and be able to experience something that is very unique, I think.
Very unique.
And this service is really held just once a year,
yes.
and it's held at Thanksgiving time.
Yes.
When we took the break, we said we promised we'd come back and maybe tell them some other things. And we said that there would be Hindu chanting, and there would be also the incense that the Maronites would bring.
Yes.
Barbara, anything else that is be happening?
What we try and do, what we've had a few times, and I hope we have again this year, is an offertory dance. The Holy Vietnamese Martyr Catholic Church has dancers, and we have in a few of the years, done an offertory dance that is just beautiful with candles and just flowing gowns, and it's very pretty, wonderful music. And they take up the offertory at that time. It's a goodwill offertory that just helps to promote next year's, helps us with the finances.
So an offering is received,
Yes,
and that offering then goes to help
To help
defray the costs
defray
and,
the
and
costs.
prepare for the next
Yes,
year.
yes.
I'm also wondering about choral singing. Will there be anything like that?
We have the host church this year. This year we're kind of concentrating on youth singing. Their youth choir is going to be doing an opening hymn that the congregation will be able to sing with. And then toward the end we're going to have a Jewish children's choir will be singing with David's Chapel Children's Choir. And they'll be doing ecumenical.
The Jewish Children's Choir
Yes.
and the David's Chapel Choir
Yes.
will be joined
Yeah.
together. That will
Yeah.
be wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's just a wonderful concept that I'm very excited about being able to have that there.
And it really brings the unity of the city
Yes.
together,
Right.
Yes.
because you bring West and East together
Yes.
around this theme of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a beautiful idea.
Yes.
Mike, there's a theme that you all on the steering committee have chosen for this Interfaith Thanksgiving service, and it talks about grace. Can you share with our viewing audience what that theme is?
Well, basically, our theme this year is to give thanksgiving to God, who provides the grace for this interreligious dialogue and interreligious faith communities. And every year we pick a different theme that we, as a steering committee, select to best describe what we are feeling when we put one of these programs together. And grace is surely something that's very, very predominant in one of these services.
Grace, that's a theological word, and to be able to give that gift, if you will, to all the religious groups is a statement of faith that I think is really beautifully expressed by the vision that you and the steering committee have in what you want to share. After the worship is over, I guess I should ask, then we don't have a speaker, or will there be someone who will be speaking?
Yes, we have a keynote speaker every year, and this year it's Dr. Mayfield.
Yes, James Mayfield.
James Mayfield from Tarrytown United Methodist Church, and he is also the president of the board this year, I believe, for the AMM.
For Austin Metropolitan
Austin
Ministries.
Metropolitan Ministries,
And
and he'll be
so
the keynote speaker
Dr.
this
James
year.
Mayfield will be the keynote speaker.
Right.
And it seems to me when I have attended these in the past, I've always really been inspired by those who have been speakers.
Yes.
And I think that's important because once again we're drawing upon the rich heritage and traditions of all of these groups that comprise our Austin community. When that worship service of Thanksgiving is over, then there's something else that's very special and unique that if we haven't enticed them enough by coming to worship with all of this that you described, what else is going to happen?
After the service, they will all be invited to a festival. And down at the festival, it'll be in the same building or across the way from where the church's service will be held. And we will have dancing and possibly some more singing at the festival. But there'll also be a rich mixture of cultural foods and ethnic foods, and they'll be all laid out at different tables so that they'll be able to, the finger foods that they'll be able to sample and enjoy, and refreshments for people who would like to have iced tea, pop, so on.
So people will be able to go around to all of these tables and taste and have a real experience.
If you've never tasted the food from, I guess, the Sufi culture, it'd be an opportunity for you to do
Let me
that.
tell you what we did one year from our tradition when we came over to your congregation. We're Scandinavian in background.
Right.
You know, Swedes, Norwegians, Danes, Finns, that kind of group. And we brought over some of these Scandinavian delicacies. And let me tell you something, Mike, these people like that stuff. I've been telling them for years it was good stuff, but they really enjoy it.
Well, you know, I'm the one that's organizing all this, and I haven't heard from your group for the food, so I need to hear from you all.
Well, if any of you are watching from the Scandinavian groups, we want you to get on the ball and get going over there. Because is there still room? If we want to get some?
Oh, sure, we have plenty of room.
So you'll have food from the Hindu group, and
right, and the Jewish culture. The Mexican culture, all the different food groups, the Maronites.
The Maronites. So do you have any idea what kind of food the Maronites will bring?
Well, Lebanese in tradition, so it'll be tabbouleh or something. I'm not sure what it'll be, but something along the Mediterranean cultural.
And if they don't come through with something good, Father Don will be after them. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
What I think is it's such a positive gift that AMM gives to the Austin community in inviting people to come to this interfaith service. Now, 2 years ago, Barbara, you had it at a very special location, and you told me before we went on the air, I didn't attend that one, I was out of town, but you said you had about 1,000 people who came to that.
Yes, it was our largest one ever. It was held at Barsana Dham, which is the Hindu temple south of Austin. They had just completed the temple that year, and so they invited us to have the celebration there, and it was just beautiful. It was wonderful to be inside, and it was such an experience for people who have never been outside of their own faith community to experience the Hindu traditions. And I mean, they had a part of it, but just to be in their temples and just to see what they do was just beautiful. It was wonderful.
An opportunity to give thanks for another part of our culture, of our community. People who express their thanksgiving to God in their way that is unique and special. Mike, you are a deacon in the Roman Catholic faith community.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what it means to be a deacon in the Roman Church, and then, Mike, second part of that. And Barbara, you can jump in and ask some questions here also. And then, why is it important, do you think, for your faith community, not just your congregation or your parish, but as Roman Catholics, to interact with these other religious groups? First of all, being a deacon.
Being a deacon, the diaconate was reinstated after Vatican II in 1964, and it is called a permanent diaconate. So that means is that we are ordained permanent deacons, and we assist the priest. We can witness marriages. We can do baptisms, do the funeral rite. We do our pastoral work in the area of annulments and also in marriage preparation. And it's a process of training where we 3-year process here in Austin. In some other dioceses, like Dallas, it's 4 years. Then we are ordained by the bishop, and they usually try to put you into your home parish, so because you are familiar with the people there, and pastorally, they feel you can do the most good there.
Why are you thankful? What leads you as a person of faith to be thankful not only for your wonderful heritage, your Roman Catholic heritage, but also your willingness to take this kind of step of faith to interact with people who express their faith in ways different from yours?
Well, I'm basically a simple man, and I believe that there are a lot of misconceptions about how Catholics are practicing and how they view other faiths in the area of religion, and I want to do my part to help them understand what being a Roman Catholic means and what it means to me personally of their own faith experience, and to let them know that the Roman Catholic Church is changing. It is not as strict as it was in the old days, and it's a more open faith.
Then what I hear Mike saying to us, and he's saying this in a very beautiful way among the three of us, but you know, there are many, many people watching this program who are saying, now that's an interesting idea, that a Roman Catholic, one who loves his faith, can take a risk and be in a Thanksgiving service with people who are not of the same expression, and that you're doing it because you want, if I heard you right, Mike, because you want to convey to them your affirmation. Is that a good word? Affirmation of who they are?
I would think that would be a good word, yes.
You'd
And
accept
to accepting them where they are.
and asking them also
And
then,
also asking them to accept me where I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a mutual respect and acceptance.
And that's
by
why you're
both of us.
excited about this interfaith service, because you can come there and others like you can come there and you can together give thanks to God.
Exactly.
All right. Barbara, what about you?
Well, for me, it was getting married and having children and wanting my children to learn acceptance of all people and wanting myself to learn more. I felt like I was very narrow-minded in terms, I don't feel I was narrow-minded, but I didn't have exposure to a lot of other faith communities. And I really wanted my children to grow in tolerance and love of all people. And so I thought it was very important for them to see all the faith communities. And so that to me was a major goal in my own search, is that I be involved in some ecumenical way to expose my children and to expose myself to other cultures and traditions.
And to bring the gifts that you have within your faith community and
Yes.
thankfully share it.
Yes.
Share
yes,
that with other people.
Yes.
Would you be willing to invite these people to come who are watching Austin Faith Dialogue to come? The service is going to be held on what day?
It's Sunday, November 21st at 3 o'clock at St. Albert the Great Catholic Church in North Austin on Bittern Hollow. I can't remember the number right now. And we would love to have everybody come and share with us.
I don't know how big St. Albert the Great is, but
It'll
wouldn't it be
hold-
something if you could put 1,000 people in there?
It'll
Yes.
hold
Yes.
close to 1,000.
Yes, it'll hold
Okay,
close
it's
to
a large facility.
Large
then.
facility, brand new facility.
It'd be wonderful to see their new facility then
Yes,
too.
yes.
And then to come together and to join as a community to give thanks to God. I had a person stop me on the streets recently and say, I watch you on television. You know, that always amazes me that people watch the program. And I say, well, thanks for being up that early on Sunday or watching Sunday evening. But they said, I'm thankful that you have lots of different religious groups on there. And I think that's what this Thanksgiving service is.
Yes.
We're thankful that this represents our community and the very best of what our community has to offer.
The very best.
Barbara, thanks to you and the Maronite congregation. You tell Father Sawyer that we're grateful that he shared you with us
I will.
tonight.
Thank you.
And keep working on this committee, will you please?
I will.
Because it's important. Mike, blessings to you and being a deacon in your Roman Catholic faith community.
Thank
and
you.
we plan to see you. Don't get sick now before this
Oh, no.
happens, okay?
Oh, no.
Because we plan to be together November 21st. We'll give thanks unto the Lord, for the Lord is good, and the mercies of the Lord endure from generation to generation. We are thankful people, and I know you're thankful. And so we invite you to be with us on November 21st and to participate and share in giving thanks to God. May the blessings of the Thanksgiving season be with you and yours always. Peace be with you. Happy Thanksgiving.